Claims to be a so-called journalist. He's not. I met him in person. He's actually a nice guy. Wasn't nice to me last night. Back in January, in the immediate aftermath of Smollett's hate crime allegations, Lemon rushed to support the Empire actor. Despite obvious red flags, Lemon publicly doled out sympathy to Smollett. In fact, the CNN host told Entertainment Tonight that he texted Smollett every day following the incident. Now that the actual facts are coming in, now Don's trying to spin the story and even blame me, like I'm responsible. I'm apparently running the world and everything else. Take a look.
This is playing out every single moment in cable news. Sean Hannity's going to eat Jussie Smollett's lunch every single second. Tucker Carlson is going to eat Jussie Smollett's lunch every single second.
President of the United States.
The President of the United States is going to eat his lunch. And who does the President of the United States watch every night?
You.
Cable news. Well, cable news.
You know, the interesting part is I purposely stayed away from the story to wait for more facts to come in. My sources in Chicago almost instantly were warning me, be careful on this story. Now, Don, everyone knows you hate Trump. You're part of the hate Trump media. You pretend to be objective. You're not. So why don't you just admit you're a talk show host like me? Be honest with your viewers. Joining us now is America First Action Senior Advisor Sean Spicer, media reporter for The Hill, Joe Concha. Good to see you both. You know, Joe, something fascinating you discovered and wrote about. Wow, everybody over at Conspiracy TV, NBC over there, they were all over this story in the beginning. How much coverage was in primetime last night?
In primetime MSNBC, if you're talking about, now remember, the Chicago police announced at 7:53 p.m. that Smollett would be charged. That means the 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and 11 p.m. shows.
That's called primetime. Yeah.
Primetime, right. Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, Brian Williams, who used to be the NBC news anchor. They covered it.
The same Brian Williams that saw dead bodies floating where there was no water?
Maybe why he's now at MSNBC at 11 o'clock instead of NBC at 6:30 at night. But they covered it for 0 minutes. And look, opinion shows I give a lot of leeway to because it's the editorial page. The problem here, the issue for MSNBC here, Sean, is the fact that they covered this story heavily when the narrative fit what they thought their audience wanted to hear. This was custom made for an MSNBC audience as it was presented in the beginning. 2 white males attack a gay black actor with bleach and a noose.
And a MAGA hat.
And a MAGA hat yelling, "This is MAGA country." And despite the fact there are many questionable parts about the story from the very beginning, and I withheld judgment as well, as in what are 2 men walking around Chicago in a polar vortex in 30-below-degree weather waiting for a gay actor they probably have never seen on TV before, prepared for that very moment. And then once Smollett wasn't handing over phone records or they're heavily redacted, that's when you knew there was a problem. But MSNBC and NBC and a lot of other news outlets, not Chicago media, they did a great job here. They went ahead and presented it as an attack, as if it were fact, instead of using that key word, alleged, and now it's coming back to bite everybody.
You know, Sean, let me put it in context. Besides missing the biggest abuse of power corruption scandal in history and the hate, Trump mob mentality media, going with every story that's anti-Trump, proven wrong, they just move on to the next story, act like it never happened. Look at how often they have been wrong. I had Richard Jewell's attorney on, Lynn Wood, who I've known since 1996. We went back that far, but then it's UVA, then it's Duke Lacrosse, then it's Cambridge Police, then it's Zimmerman Trayvon, then it's Ferguson, then it is Baltimore. It's not vetting Obama. It's not after 8 years telling the real statistics of failure of Obama. It is destroy Trump. It's fascinating how wrong they are, how often they are so wrong.
Well, if you look at the last 2 cases in particular, both the Covington case and now this one in Chicago, both of them, it was a rush to judgment because the narrative fit. This idea that anything that's anti-Trump has got to be something that we jump on and go with. If you look at what Don Lemon said, he attacked you last night. But look at what he said, that Jussie Smollett has lost in the court of public opinion, and it's, quote, it's not his fault. He went on to say, when something happens and it's controversial, everyone is coming for you. And so I knew everyone would be picking apart his story. It's not for me. That's not my concern. That wasn't his concern. This gentleman stoked racial hatred. He spoke homophobic hatred, and he used the resources of the police. I'm all for forgiveness, Sean, But this individual hasn't even admitted his problem. He hasn't admitted the crime. And Don Lemon's rushing and saying that I'm more concerned about him than the thousands of people who didn't have police resources at the time.
We have 24 detectives.
And further,
Sean.
hold on.
Yeah.
But, right, so there's 24 detectives assigned that weren't doing other things for the people of Chicago. But furthermore, this concern that everybody has about fake news and further divide, this is exactly what it was happening. But it was inspired by the left, and now they want to ignore it. That's a problem.
By the way, are you really working for Extra Extra? Congratulations.
I am.
That's actually awesome.
Great.
Good for you. Joe, we'll give you a
Thank
quick 20 seconds. Go ahead. Wrap it up.
I think in the end, Sean, MSNBC didn't cover this last night because they were afraid their audiences would be offended in their safe spaces, as if we don't give them comfort food and tell them what they want to hear, then they're going to go somewhere else. People need to be told what they need to hear instead of what they want to hear, and we're seeing that across a lot of news organizations at this point. Just report the news and don't worry about the feelings of your audiences in these cases.
Larry Logan was on with us last night. 90% of the media is left, and they're wrong. To the point where...
And now they're calling her, by the way, now they're calling her a conservative. The second that she didn't go along with the name, they dismissed her.
I have no idea what her politics are. But when you get to the point you're willing to destroy a 16-year-old kid and not even make a phone call to find out if what the 10 seconds you're looking at is true, that's why these companies are going to pay. I know Linwood. He is unrelenting. We'll see. All right. Thank you both.